Do you care for Pixar's hoppers? I keep wanting to call it Pixar beavers, to be honest. This is, I think, a particularly interesting Pixar movie coming out at some point. So it's been the Annecy Film Festival this month, and with it comes all sorts of animated movie news, and Pixar alone have 3 notable chunks of updates that I'm making videos on now. We've already covered the likes of Toy Story 5 and the new original Pixar Gatto, and I'll be honest, I kind of feel like Hoppers is falling a little on the wayside. From what I can tell, when the first announcement of Hoppers, there was a little bit of a lukewarm reception that it seemed kind of odd and weird and not too gripping. But this time around, we actually get another concept image, and there's an unfortunate red flag that I think is really interesting to talk about. This is the new image we have of Hoppers. It looks like a really nice aesthetic choice of making a felty kind of Pixar movie. You can tell what it's going for. It's almost as if it took one of their animated shorts and turned it into a theatrical film. But also, I think this is a really unfortunate time for a movie looking like this, because I think this movie's gonna be completely swept over via AI. This looks like the classic child of a Pixar prompt put into AI with a felt tip, papery aesthetic of some sort. We know this is fully human and made by genuinely talented artists, but if the final result is looking like this, which is like kind of classic, shove Pixar into an AI and see what comes out, I feel like this is like a movie of its time that's unfortunately being outpaced by a very scary idea in the industry. On top of that, as I learn more details about this movie, the less I'm kind of onto it and seeing more red flags pop up. I don't necessarily want to be the Pixar cynic, and actually, I'm not entirely. Pixar just announced this same time another movie with a cat-based movie with a painterly aesthetic, and I'm all for that one. I'm actually thinking there's some good potential there. But when it comes to general Pixar news, Toy Story 5 sounds like a terrible sequel idea, then Coco 2 sounds even worse, Incredibles 3 I've lost faith on after Incredibles 2, and then yeah, I've had concerns with other Pixar movies over the years, Soul, Lightyear, what have you. But Hoppers is an interesting one in the middle that I feel like could be an almost forgotten Pixar movie if the marketing doesn't ramp up and we see a change in public opinion after a bit of time. So this movie is set for March 6th, 2026, and what we did know up to this point is it's all about a young girl who swaps their brain with a robotic beaver to live with the animals a little bit more. A little bit quirky, a little bit weird, but you could maybe see it going into some interesting directions. Animated movies love their body swap stories, apparently. But now we know a little bit more of the specific synopsis, and I hate it. So the synopsis is, a young girl named Mabel discovers that the only way to stop local mayor Jerry from enacting his plan is to use a secret brain-swapping experiment to hop into the mind of a robot beaver. This young girl is trying to stop a highway from being built that would ruin a local woodlands. Insert your classic, cliche, terrible animated movie of a collection of animals trying to stop real estate business ongoing. Sometimes it goes really well, like DreamWorks' Over the Hedge in like 2006, and then there are so many examples of terrible environmental animated animal movies that this just seems like it falls hook, line, and sinker directly into just the most cliche, naff storytelling. Visually, I think it looks great, but even that looks like an AI prompt has spat it out, even though you know it's made by genuine heart, sweat, and tears. And I don't want to be such a naysayer on it, I just feel like it's a really bad underdog kind of story with all sorts of things just not in their favor. Hey there, you've made it to the halfway mark of this quick little mini, so come subscribe if you haven't already. You know the drill. It's all Annecy Film Festival content. And now let's get back to the second half of it. Cheers. There is another little description I've seen that gives me a hint of what it could be saying as something more, which says, Mabel then goes to a local pond as this beaver where all the refugees from the highway project are gathering, and she has to convince another beaver named King George and all the other animals that they need to work together to stop their homes from being destroyed. When I see that as well, I'm thinking very much DreamWorks is The Wild Robot. It's the same idea, a bunch of different animal species coming together, but it's a human as a robot, not a robot as a robot, I guess. But there's one word in this description that might just be from the article that described it, but I think could be a hint of the larger messaging it's going for, which has potential to be, you know, that Pixar classic good. And that is just the use of the word, specifically refugees, in regards to this highway project. Now maybe this is just me extrapolating, but also when you think of Pixar's Elemental, that was also an immigrant story with a similar kind of exploration on what society is and does and excludes. And there's room here that beyond being that classic terrible animals versus human storyline, especially with it being a human in with the animals and mixing in between, maybe it can be more of that kind of societal message on a bigger scale that obviously so early on we're not seeing a lot of. We have a picture of a beaver going crazy because it's a girl going crazy that she's a beaver, and then we have this which looks stunning, it looks visually nice, but it also looks unfortunately like it could have just been spat out by AI. I wonder if this is going to be a discussion that Pixar has going forwards in trying to work out an artistic style that doesn't look like a prompt. Or maybe it's kind of an unstoppable force and Pixar's unfortunately just one of the biggest notable studios, so AI is always just going to pivot to whatever they end up designing. I don't know. I just think there's a hint of potential here, but a lot of growing red flags the more I hear about this original Pixar movie. I'm thankful to hear though that originals are still very much the itinerary plan going forwards. It is literally just sequel, original, but I'm glad that after the likes of Turning Red being a little bit controversial, Lightyear being a total flop, and Elio, I'm presuming, not really getting a big audience coming soon, it's nice to see that they are still pushing forwards with making original stories, and I'll be curious to see how they blend more going forwards, as there was that announcement that they're going to take a little away from the director's story and smaller scale projects to tell big, classical Pixar movies again, because they're going to make the profits, sure. But this, I think, out of the 3 Pixar movies really exposed in their presentation, I have the most queries and concerns over. But of course, we don't even have a proper teaser trailer yet. Footage has been shown to the Annecy Film Festival audiences in a couple of places now, but from what I've seen so far, with just a couple of screenshots and a little bit of a description, I gotta say it again, this is why Pixar's Hoppers concerns me. I hope, though, this thing can turn around. I think there's room for potential here, but there's a lot of easy, obvious pits that this Pixar movie could fall into that I hope it doesn't. I hope I can have that drive for an original movie someday, and I hope it's not as far away as Pixar's Gatto in bloody 2027. 2 years from now, I gotta wait for a good Pixar movie? Please, no. I want all of them to be good, and I think obviously, with the teams behind it, there's, of course, talent and prowess behind them that could easily turn this thing around. But I'm also so very curious to see how or if Pixar makes any kind of pivots against this rise of AI that's kind of making things pretty close to this in style and aesthetic. At least in regards to the fuzziness of the beavers in the beaver shots so far. Yeah, I'm gonna be very on board for that. It's not quite so standard Pixar aesthetic, it's not the CalArts bean design straight up. And I guess we'll just have to see how things roll out as the marketing presumably starts heating up with the movie coming out in 9 months. I'm at the very least keeping my beady eyes on this project alongside all the other ones, but that's at least just another corner of what Pixar's working on and what they revealed at the Annecy Film Festival this year. For now though, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do tell me your thoughts on Pixar's Hoppers. Do you have the same concerns as me, or do you think I gotta cool it on being concerned all the time? I'd love to hear all your thoughts and more, and I shall see you all in a little bit. Cheerio!